On behalf of my family, I would like to thank everyone for coming out and being a part of this day that we remember and celebrate my dad's life. To all who provided meals, letters, cards, flowers, prayers, and other forms of support as we've navigated our way through this process, we say thank you. I believe God used you all so that we were able to give my dad the best care that he possibly could have. As I look out at those in attendance today, I see family, co-workers, church family, neighbors and friends. I can't help but hear my dad's voice saying, "All of this for me?" And he would truly be humbled to realize just how many people cared for him. We all knew my dad in different ways. I think we can all agree that his calm in the storm personality, his desire to do his best always, the "my word is my oath" mentality that he had, there are no problems, there are only solutions kind of attitude that he had. And yes, even his dry sense of humor, which threw people plumb up. These were all things that made my dad uniquely him. He was definitely a one-of-a-kind person who left a lasting impression on all who knew him. Although we are grieving his passing, I take great comfort in knowing that he's been given a new body, one that feels no pain or sorrow. He's rejoicing with the angels and learning the answers to all the questions he ever had, and he had a lot. I am honored to have called him my dad. Thank you.
I don't know if I'll do as good as my sister, but I'll give it a shot. I woke up the other day, and I think Dad woke me up. And I wanted to run to the computer and read his obituary, and unfortunately it was there. And fortunately it was there, but you know what I mean. And I wanted to read to you what I wrote. I said, "I love you, Dad. I woke up early this morning thinking about you. I can barely type, as it is hard to see through the keys through my tears. It was hard to see your picture here. It was hard to see your picture here and read about our life. You were always so proud of me that you need to know that you were my hero. Rest now and know that Patty will be taken care of to the best of my ability. I will continue to try and make you proud. Bye." I would also like to thank everybody for coming to share with our family in the celebration of Dad's life. A special thank you to hospice and the volunteers. They were amazing. It's unfortunate that we don't realize it until you need it, but hospice is unbelievable. And just thank you to the volunteers. Cynthia and I grew up in a good home. It wasn't perfect, but whose is? We had all we needed and we were loved. My sister is an incredible woman. She was anything and everything that Dad needed for the past 6 months. He had the best of care, and I knew he was not in pain. Dad, can't see. Dad gave me the eyesight as well. I thanked him for that when I turned 40. I went to read the newspaper one day, and I thought, man, they really messed up on this newspaper. Anyway, Dad and I laughed about a lot of things that we had in common. Once I turned about 40, I noticed how many things I had in common with Dad. Dad made me promise him, as we were about to leave the hospital after his surgery, he said, and I quote, "No more hospital ever again. No chemo, no radiation. Just take me home." And I promised him. Cindy and Patty were the core of keeping that promise to Dad. They really were. My dad was one of the hardest working men I have ever known in my life. He taught me how to work, and that with hard work, you could get what you wanted in life. A child watches a parent grow in years, just as a parent watches a child grow. I watched my father work hard and live for himself and his family, then settle down in life, develop his skills, and become the best welder fabricator around. Then, as I was about to head into high school, God slammed Dad to his knees. And Dad reached out for help from God. Dad never asked anyone for help, but this was different. He walked into this church, looked at the pastor, wanted to give his life to God, and that was it. It was that simple. He got his life straight with God, with his work, with his kids, and his family. And then he finally, after a long time, found love and peace with a lady named Patty. Dad had finally made it. Patty came along in my high school years, and we had to learn to share Dad and the house. The days of walking around in my underwear were over. She is a wonderful woman, and she can always count on having a son in me. Dad was never content with the minimum amount of knowledge just to get by. He always wanted all the facts. You may think Dad knew it all, but he didn't, and he knew it. He allowed me to teach him a few things, like cutting firewood, learning about the quality of lumber when it was time for him to build his house. And at the end, he was very interested in my retail job. He never sat still. We never sat and watched a game or a long TV event in my childhood. Until the end, we actually sat and watched a few games and some TV. When Dad fell ill, it was nice. Dad was my rock, the one I went to with the hard questions that most people would not answer. I knew he would give it to me straight, the truth, like it or not. He helped me make one of the hardest decisions in my life, not to go back. To my career in the timber industry and to stay where I was at. He was right as usual. I hope that someday I can become that rock for my kids. I will never be my father, but I will try. Two of my dad's grandchildren, two of my sons, Dustin and Tristan, have followed in Grandpa, my dad's footsteps. They learned a lot from him, and they're doing well, and I know Dad was super proud of the boys. The next son, Philip, had a lot of issues when he was young. And Dad was proof of prayer. And Dad prayed and prayed and prayed while I was frantic about my son's life. He's happy. Philip is happy and a healthy young man. Elizabeth, finally a daughter, loved and hugged on Dad in the hospital. She is a beautiful young girl. Dad was so proud of her. Her middle name is Grace, and that's what Dad was. He was Grace.